Hi everyone, welcome back to another Reddit cheating story. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and notification bell if you love to watch more cheating stories. Wife confessed she cheated before, should I move on? After 19 years of being together, my wife confessed to me that 14 years ago she had an affair with a guy from work. I never in a million years suspected it. I always had trust in her and was never really the jealous type. She, on the other hand, was extremely jealous at the beginning of our relationship. She would threaten me and question me about anyone I said hi to. I was always afraid she would confront any of my female co-workers just because I would talk to them about work over the phone or any female friends on social media. I soon realized that if a relationship was going to work, I would need to make sacrifices/changes for the better of the relationship. I made a ton of sacrifices for her, including not going to college, because she thought that I would find someone else in school. I stopped talking with friends because she thought they were against her. I didn't go out or do anything but just focus on the family we created. We had our first child right out of high school, so we had to grow up and be responsible very quickly. A few rough years passed and then came 2 more kids a year apart. We always had the usual problems any couple with 3 kids has. We would argue over things like cooking dinner and what to eat, cleaning, picking up kids at practice, or the usual stuff. One year we received some of the worst news any parent could ever get. Our second child had a rare malignant tumor on his spine and the survival rate was about 20%. This really put us to the test, but after treatments our son recovered and was all clear. We both believe this actually made our relationship stronger, and we were more committed to each other than ever. We saved enough and got married, bought a house, enjoyed what a normal family enjoys while growing. Friday, fast forward to last Friday when we got into it over me going to my company Christmas party for lunch. She was upset because up until recent years they stopped inviting spouses, and she claimed that I just didn't want to take her because I probably have an affair with someone at work. I argued and explained and argued more. Then I asked her why she had added an ex-boyfriend from high school on social media. She then got quiet and nervous and quickly ended the argument, something she never does. Saturday, the next day, I proceeded to ask her about it, and she said it was nothing, that there was nothing going on, and that he sent her a friend request and she accepted it without think about it. I asked her since when had she accepted his friend request. She said since January. I was really upset, mostly because if I had done the same thing she probably would have left me. I asked her why and if she had anything going on with him. She said no, it was just a mistake that they never talked or contacted each other. I asked her if there is anything or anyone else. She then tells me that back in 2006 there was a guy she worked with that asked her out, but she declined because she told him she was married. Then in 2007 there was another guy that worked with her that was just a friend, but he wanted to be more than friends. But nothing ever happened. We argued back and forth, and I just walked away because I didn't have the energy to fight. I went to the park because I need to clear my head. I was angry at the fact that it was not fair, and if I had done this I would be dead. I then went home and didn't talk with her at all. Sunday, the next day, I had more questions. Were there other friends? Other people hitting on her? But she denied any of it. I had a gut feeling I was not getting the entire truth. She apologized and said there was no one else, that she made a mistake and that she regrets ever doing it. I asked again if there was anything else and she proceeded to say no. I was still upset and still didn't feel right. Later that night we both went to the store for some groceries. On our way back home I pulled over to a parking lot and was calm and wanted to talk. I told her I have a deep feeling that there is more. I told her I know there is more. I said if there is ever a time to be as honest as possible, if she has anything to get off her chest, now is the time. She started crying and said no, but kept stuttering as if she wanted to say something else. I kept asking and telling her to be as honest as possible. I asked again, she stuttered and said there is something but she's afraid. I asked her if it was her ex from high school. She said no. She then stutters and cries and tells me that she wasn't to hurt me. I ask her to be honest no matter how painful it is. She proceeded to tell me that back in 2007 her friend that wanted to be more than friends kissed her. I asked why she didn't tell me. She said she didn't want more problems than what we already had at the time. I asked her again, is there more? She said that's it. I repeated to tell her to be honest. That I need to know everything. She cried and said she didn't want to hurt me. Calmly, I asked her to tell me because I don't want to find out elsewhere. She then said that it would hurt me and continued to say that there was more than just kissing. I asked if they were touching. She nodded. I asked if there was sex involved. She nodded. At this point, I had felt like my stomach and my chest switched places. I felt like throwing up and continued to ask when, where, how. She explained that it was only one time and that it was while I was at work and that it was in his truck at the park. I was still in shock. I felt like I just finished doing the ice bucket challenge and someone punched the air out of me. I then bit my lip and asked if there was more. She shook her head and said it was just one time and that it never happened again and that she screwed up. She said it didn't mean anything and she didn't even like it. She said she never did it again because she felt like the dirtiest woman on the planet. I then asked why. She said we had some problems and he made her feel good. But that never happened again. She said it happened only once and that she pulled her pants down a little and she didn't even feel anything. She repeated to say that she was on top and she didn't like it because she didn't feel it and that's why they only did it once. I then took the deepest breath of my life and proceeded to ask if there was more. I hadn't taken a deep breath like that since they told us about our child having cancer. She was still nervous and said no. That was it and it only happened once. I drove back home and what was a few streets down the block seemed like a cross-country road trip through hell. We got home and talked a bit more about it. She went into small detail but all I was thinking was that some other guy had his hands on my wife. She cried and apologized. I just sat there stunned. She hugged me and kissed me and somehow I kissed back. Something then took over me and wanted me to make the best love I ever had to her. We finished and laid down and she said she was sorry and that it was a long time ago and it was when we had problems. I laid there as she put her head on my chest and had all sorts of things going in my head. She asked if we could work it out. She said that after we had the issues with our son, that we have been better than ever in our relationship. I was still confused and shocked. I woke up at 2 a.m. and went downstairs to think things through. Monday the next day I went to work and it was just a blur. I made a point to write every thought I had down on my phone. At the end of the day I had about 513 thoughts written down, all in an 8-hour shift. Surprisingly, I didn't get fired. I went back home wanting to know more and ask more. We talked and she went into detail of how it happened. I then asked for her to be honest. I said that there needs to be more. Tell me what else you are hiding. She starts to cry and stutters. I then told her calmly to tell me everything and be as honest as possible. I have a gut feeling that won't go away and she needs to tell me everything or risk losing it all. She cried and then told me there was more. I was shocked again. I asked if there were others and she shook her head. I asked her to tell me everything. She went ahead and said that she had sex with this guy another 5 to 6 times. That there was no one else and that she just needed an outlet and he made her feel good about herself. She was sorry and it happened long ago when we were having problems. I asked if there was more and she shook her head. I really don't know what to do. The past days have been a blur. It seems like a nightmare that I can't wake up from. I have thoughts going in my head: shock, sadness, anger, fear, anxiety. Don't know if we should work it out or if we should work to go our separate ways. I am confused and don't know what to do. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell.